It's February 5th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with a Russian Deputy Foreign Minister's visit to Seoul. During Andrei Rudenko's stay in South Korea for talks on regional security, Seoul called on Moscow to act responsibly when dealing with North Korea issues. Russia's top news agency reported that the Russian delegation expressed serious concerns over deepening tensions on the Korean peninsula. In the first official Democratic primary of the 2024 U.S. presidential election, President Joe Biden has secured an overwhelming win in South Carolina, winning all 55 of the state's Democratic delegates. At least 99 people have been killed in forest fires affecting Chile's coastal Valparaiso region, with the number of dead likely to rise. A state of emergency has been declared to tame the country's worst disaster since the 2010 earthquake. While Russia and North Korea continue to tighten their ties in an obvious manner, namely arms deals, South Korea called on Russia to behave responsibly when it comes to North Korea issues. Seoul and Moscow agreed to keep their communication live and active. Sinn reports.
Russia's Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Andrei Rudenko, who arrived in South Korea on Friday, held talks with Korean Foreign Ministry officials. The Foreign Ministry said Sunday that Rudenko first met with Kim Gun, Seoul's chief negotiator for peace on the Korean peninsula, for talks on North Korea issues. Both agreed to further communication, while South Korea urged Russia to cease military cooperation with the North immediately. Rudenko met his Korean counterpart, Deputy Foreign Minister Chung Byung-won, to discuss diplomatic issues and the Ukraine war. Seoul requested cooperation from Moscow to protect Korean residents and their businesses in Russia. One expert says the discussions might be theoretical, but it is meaningful that the two countries confirmed a mutual willingness to improve relations.
Even though it was a challenge to hold this meeting, it seemed meaningful that it went ahead. At least diplomatic channels are somewhat open and things haven't actually got worse.
Meanwhile, Russia's state-run TASS news agency reported on Sunday that Russia expressed concern about escalating tensions on the Korean peninsula. It added that Moscow also stated its intention to cooperate with Pyongyang in accordance with international law for peace and stability. On Saturday, the Foreign Ministry summoned the Russian ambassador over criticism of President Yoon Suk-yeol's remarks on North Korea's nuclear arsenal, saying that the remarks could have a negative impact on bilateral relations. Sinn, Arirang News.
U.S. President Joe Biden won a landslide victory in South Carolina's Democratic primary on Saturday, paving the way for a potential rematch between Biden and former President Donald Trump. Lee Seung-ja has more.
In just the first Democratic Party primary in South Carolina, voters have already sent a clear message that incumbent President Joe Biden will be leading the way come November's presidential election. In the Democratic Party's first official presidential nomination contest on Saturday, Biden took 96.2% of ballots cast, with 97% of the total votes tallied by Sunday midnight, besting Dean Phillips and Marianne Williamson, who each won around 2% of ballots. The landslide victory also means Biden will be awarded all 55 of the state's Democratic delegates, as neither Williamson nor Phillips broke the 15% threshold for being awarded any delegates. Despite the overwhelming victory in the state, it also showed a much lower than expected voter turnout. Compared to the 16% of the Democrat voters who took to the polls during the state's 2020 Democratic primary, just 4% voted on Saturday. The low turnout could signal weakened enthusiasm for Biden among Democrats. The victory for Biden could now pave the way for a rematch of the 2020 presidential election with former President Donald Trump, who scored 2 consecutive nomination wins in the early voting states of Iowa and New Hampshire. Biden was absent from the New Hampshire ballot but won the contest as a write-in candidate with 64% of the vote, while in Iowa, the incumbent party decided not to cast any ballots at their caucuses, denying Biden the chance to win there. 이승재, Arirang News.
A state of emergency has been declared in Chile, where at least 99 people have died in a wildfire that has been raging throughout the country's Valparaiso region since Saturday. In a press conference on Sunday, President Gabriel Boric said the death toll will increase significantly and declared Monday and Tuesday as days of national mourning for fire victims. According to Chile's housing ministry, between 3,000 to 6,000 houses were impacted by the fire, with some 1,400 firefighters deployed on Sunday, and military personnel were also working alongside emergency services. Now, the cause of the fires is currently being investigated. There are no immediate indications of direct North Korean military actions, says Washington's top nuclear envoy. Yet the regime continues to push ahead with its cruise missile launch provocations. We're joined by Frank Deni for more. Welcome back.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us. I'd like to start with North Korea's cruise missile launch provocations last week, with the latest round staged back on Friday. The question is, why so often? I mean, what's on the North's mind?
Well, it seems to me that North Korea has largely turned away from the path of diplomacy. And so they are busily perfecting as much as they can. They're both ballistic missile technology as well as cruise missile technology. So the repeated tests, which are somewhat normal in the winter training cycle for North Korea, represent an intense desire to have a reliable deterrent which they can deploy in the face of any South Korean or U.S. provocations. But I think it also signifies a deep level of defiance by the DPRK of the international community's efforts to convince the North to abandon the path of nuclear weapons and to re-engage at the bargaining table.
So not so much interest in engaging dialogue with the U.S. or South Korea at the moment that you're saying. U.S. nuclear envoy Jung Pak said last Friday, like I mentioned earlier, there are no indications of direct North Korean military action. What does this mean? Does it mean that no war is about to break out?
Well, 30 years ago, when I was an intelligence officer at the State Department, we engaged in a similar exercise, trying to understand North Korea's potential preparations for war. And it's encouraging, of course, that Jung Pak has indicated that we have no direct evidence that the North is preparing for war. But it's important to point out that in the case of North Korea, which exists at a high state of military readiness and a high state of militarization, even in normal times, analysts have a tough time making a judgment about when the North is gearing things up for potential hostilities. So I think it's really vital for your viewers to appreciate that the Korean Peninsula remains a dangerous place and that North Korea may not be preparing any direct action. That's encouraging. But it doesn't mean that North Korea has abandoned the path of preparations for a possible conflict on the peninsula, and we have to be ready as well.
Definitely. Which is why to better counter North Korean threats, South Korea, the U.S. and Japan on December 19th last year fully activated a system to share info sharing on North Korean missiles in real time. Now, according to Yomiuri Shimbun on Sunday, the three sides apparently failed to follow the North's IRBM launch fired on January 14th. What exactly happened?
Well, I don't know, and I wish I did. But I will point out that any such efforts to use monitoring devices, both in orbit as well as on the peninsula, to assess North Korea's potential ballistic missile activity requires practice, and that the coordination between the United States, Japan, and South Korea will take practice to really fully implement the enhanced monitoring and warning systems which the three nations committed to implement at the Camp David summit last summer. So I'm not discouraged that there may have been difficulties in this particular IRBM test launch. I think that the three allies will work through any difficulties in communication and systems link up in order to enhance their ability to both monitor, track, and ultimately intercept and defeat DPRK missile launches in the future.
Indeed. In the meantime, North Korea has been trying to bring Russia closer to the regime than ever. And it appears that the North is looking to tighten its ties with Beijing, too, on the occasion of their 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations. Why is the North working on its ties with Beijing?
It's a great question. And basically, North Korea likes to play all sides. So the visit by Foreign Minister Choi Song-hui to Moscow to meet with Vladimir Putin last year is now being followed by efforts to strengthen ties to Beijing. Basically, North Korea is trying to extract from their friends as much benefit as possible. They know that China is a little bit jealous of the new tighter relations between Pyongyang and Moscow. They probably hope that they can extract from Beijing concessions in the form of fuel assistance, food, money, and financial support for the regime. So this is Pyongyang playing one side against the other.
Right, but some experts also say China may not be as enthusiastic and even walking on eggshells considering its relations with the U.S. How so?
Well, I think that Beijing is trying right now to stabilize U.S.-China relations. And so I'm sure that there is at least some nervousness in Beijing about getting too close to Pyongyang at a time when the United States is insisting upon strict enforcement of sanctions, for instance. On the other hand, China's value to the United States as a potential bargaining partner with the DPRK goes up when China has more regular, reliable communication with Pyongyang. So ironically, if China is able to improve relations a little bit with North Korea, it may enhance the value of China as a potential partner for peace for the United States and South Korean allies to try to stabilize the Korean Peninsula in a year that is frankly shaping up to be one that is full of tension.
Definitely. All right, thanks so much for your insights and your time. We appreciate it.
감사합니다.
If you're interested in meeting some of the most iconic and innovative fashion designers, then Seoul is the right choice. Seoul Fashion Week returned last week, and we still have one more day to enjoy it. Our Choi Soo-hyung went there.
Seoul Fashion Week is known for its innovative and eclectic style, often blending traditional elements and modern trends. 2024 Seoul Fashion Week's fall and winter season embarked on its 5-day run on Thursday. This season, some Korean fashion designers famous among young people gather at Dongdaemun Design Plaza and Seongsu S Factory, the country's fashion hub. Like the previous seasons, the venue is being held earlier than usual to grab the attention of the world's fashion media.
For this year's autumn and winter collection, Seoul Fashion Week takes place 6 weeks earlier than the Big Four: New York, Paris, Milan and London.
A total of 21 runway shows are scheduled, 15 at TDP and 6 at S Factory. The week kicked off with designer Park So-young's brand July Column, which has become a popular label in Korea.
July Column is very much a new generation, and Park So-young is the only designer in Korea with such craftsmanship. I was impressed with the diverse mix and match of knit, layer patterns, and meticulous detailing. I think the designer tries to balance between classic with fresh and international while also embracing a distinct Korean aesthetic.
During the show, the world-renowned South Korean soprano singer Park Hye-sang took the runway to perform her newly released song.
Nowadays, the world really can't ignore K-beauty and fashion. I think we have the power to lead, and the stage was so unique due to a collaboration with the opera singer. It was touching and truly impressive.
In particular, this season aims to increase the participation of young generation brands with high potential for global growth. And so, the Seoul Metropolitan Government, the host of this event, has invited 68 domestic brands to take part. Moreover, celebrating its 23rd year, various events allow visitors to have a memorable experience. A massive 12-meter-long graffiti wall welcomes attendees in front of TDP Square.
I think Korean people in general, they're very well coded. Like every time I see them, their pants always go with their shirts, their shoes always go with everything. Also, the fashion differs from the place that you're in. Like if you go to Hongdae, you'll see like more street fashion, and Shinsa is like more like professional look.
The event will run until February 5th, showcasing diverse talent and contributing significantly to the global fashion scene. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
From gimbap to mandu and bibimbap, Korean foods continue to become popular around the world. And the latest addition to these K-snacks are like Hoppang and yakgwa. Our Jin has the story.
The steamed bun Hoppang is one of the most popular winter snacks in Korea. Its growing popularity has led to more flavors being added to what used to be just the plain bun with sweet red bean paste filling. Now there are flavors like black sesame, injeolmi, and even kimchi, and demand for these buns continues to increase by the year.
They're easily available at convenience stores and are a filling warm snack.
The Hoppang was thought to be a popular snack just in Korea. But when it was showcased at last year's Anuga Food Tech, a global food expo in Germany, buyers were busy giving the colorful buns a taste.
Very good. Amazing tasting. You have another one? Only one? Why?
One of the major food companies that produce Hoppang said that exports increased by 50% last year compared to the previous year to 25 different countries, including the United States, Europe, and Southeast Asian countries. This has also been the case for another Korean dessert called yakgwa. Even among people in Korea, there's been a wave of increasing demand for these traditional cookies in recent years. But that has now spread globally. Dubbed the Korean macaron, the popularity of its traditional cut and chewy texture has led to an increase of 40% in exports last year.
Some 7,000 buyers have stopped by with positive feedback. It was an important platform to popularize K-desserts.
Hallyu played a role in making the yakgwa known to the global market, but it was also the handmade traditional yakgwa specialty shops. Yakgwa that are crafted like pieces of artwork became popular on social media, attracting up to 40 to 50 foreign tourists in a single day.
I really wanted to try the yakgwa cookie that's popular in Korea. The ones at this store look so delicious and pretty.
Some of these traditional Korean snacks and desserts that were believed to be unique for Korean taste buds are now attracting a wider global market as more people enjoy the taste of Korea. Jin, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Kim Seong, and now we turn over to stories from around the world. We begin today in the Middle East, where U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan on Sunday warned that the recent U.S. airstrikes on Iran-backed militias are just the beginning of the responses of 3 U.S. soldiers killed in Jordan a week ago. After Friday night's airstrikes against 85 targets in Iraq and Syria, Sullivan did not rule out the possibility of direct strikes against Iran, and said that there will be more steps to the United States' forceful response. Iran issued a warning to the U.S. as well on Sunday for targeting 2 cargo ships in the Red Sea, the Beshad and Saviz, which have long been suspected of operating as fronts for Iranian commandos' bases. This came after the third wave of U.S. and United Kingdom airstrikes in Yemen across 13 locations, which hit 36 Houthi targets on Saturday. Moving over to Northern Ireland, where Sinn Féin's Michelle O'Neill was appointed First Minister of its devolved government on Saturday. O'Neill becomes the first Irish nationalist to hold the position. Her appointment comes as a 2-year parliamentary boycott by the pro-UK Democratic Unionist Party, which had left Northern Ireland without a functional government, came to an end following a trade deal with Westminster. Power is shared in the devolved parliament thanks to the 1998's Good Friday Agreement, which ended decades of violence between members of Northern Ireland's 2 main communities, the pro-British Unionists and Irish nationalists, who want to reunite with the Republic of Ireland. O'Neill said her appointment represents a new dawn, adding Sinn Féin's dream of a united Ireland may be within touching distance. Now to Namibia, where Nangolo Mbumba was sworn in as interim president on Sunday following the death of President Hage Geingob from cancer on the same day. Mbumba said in a tribute to his predecessor that the nation had lost a liberation struggle icon, adding that the nation remains calm and stable owing to the leadership of President Geingob. 82-year-old Hage Geingob, a veteran of Namibia's independence movement, served as the country's third president from 2015. Mbumba, who served as Geingob's vice president, will be interim president until elections are held later this year. And finally to India, where over 100 couples were married in a mass wedding ceremony in the western Indian state of Gujarat on Sunday. In a program organized by the Gujarat Public Welfare Trust, a total of 129 couples were wed in traditional Muslim rituals in Ahmedabad. The organizers said that the couples come from poor financial backgrounds and cannot afford weddings of their own. The participating couples received gifts, including furniture and home appliances, to help them begin their married lives.
Good morning. The new week starts off with wintry precipitation. Wet clouds are covering the entire country, dropping rain or snow. And especially those in the east of Gangwon-do province need to be extra careful with heavy snow in the forecast. Mountainous regions in Gangwon-do could receive up to 30 centimeters of blizzard with heavy snow alerts in place. The capital could see 1 to 5 centimeters of snow today. It will rain instead of snow in the remaining regions. The East Coast and Jeju could receive 10 to 40 millimeters of rainfall through tomorrow, and southern regions will see 5 to 30 millimeters of showers. Afternoon temperatures will not go up much from today's morning temperatures. Seoul will be topping out at 4 degrees Celsius, Daegu at 7 degrees. Jeju sees a high of 12 degrees with a strong wind advisory in place for the island. Now, this round of wet weather should ease tomorrow morning in most places, and readings will stay warmer than norms this week and into the Seollal holiday under fairly bright skies. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. We'll be back tomorrow for Tuesday's edition at the same time, 9 a.m. Korea time.